Back, everybody, for the Cyber Traders podcast. My name is Fausto Pugliese, and I have my good friend here, Rick Sadler from Hit and Run Candlesticks, and he is here. We're going to talk a little about trading. We'll talk a little about him, see what's going on in the market. Big news is coming out. We got the inauguration that's happening on Monday. Market is closed. We're going to see what's going to happen with these executive orders, see what's going to move some of these stocks, how we're going to be trading it, and go from there. But Rick, welcome to the show. How's things going?
Hey, Fausto, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me here.
I'm good. I'm glad to have you. So what have you been up to? I mean, like the last time we bumped into each other, like we said just before we were in the green room, we were talking about we bumped into the expos and stuff like that. You know, I know we've done a lot of presentations, traveling around the world, but now I think people kind of feel doing a podcast here, we'll get to know a little bit, having shoot the shit.
Yeah. No, just busy trading and like I say, we hung out at the couple of expos there. I haven't done those too much in a while, but here in the trading room, we're still hanging in there after, I don't know, 15 or so years. So it's working. It's working. You just have to follow the markets and all good.
Yeah, listen, you know what? That's the only way you really could collaborate. Like I tell everybody, doing these, going to these expos are great, but the problem is that when you're in front of them, you can't talk to like hundreds of people at one time. So sometimes you got to find your niche, people that are listening. Listen, it's good to listen to these presenters and stuff, and then eventually, get into the trading room because, how I started, Rick. I was a market maker here in New York, and the only way I learned is you have to be part of a group, of team, and because you got to learn from the people that lose, so you don't do that, and you learn from the people that do well.
Yeah, I one of the things that I think is I think trading overall is a very lonely business. You're sitting at your office, which for most people, like me personally, I'm in my house. That's one of the beauties of being a trader. You can do it from any. Yeah, I'm in a house. I'm in a what should be a bedroom, but it's my office, and most people are that way. So they sit here and they get kind of, all huddled in and behind their desk, and they're trading. And I truly think one of the best things is traders need to belong to a community, trading room, whatever you want to call it. Sure, I'd love it to be mine or yours, but anybody's, anywhere you can be with like-minded traders. It just, now you don't have 2 eyes, but you might have 100 eyes or 1,000 eyes, and that's fantastic. So yeah, getting with a group, your niche, your people you like, you can work with, doesn't matter where they are, but just that community.
Yeah, like when I started, like, and I'd love to hear how you got started in it, because I think people have to understand how we evolved to where we are today. But like back in the day, we had these what we call prop firms. So we had to work at an office, and you had to, and you had to pay rent or whatever it may be, and so on. And don't get me wrong, it is definitely one of the best experiences to be around. You always want to be around people,
right?
But for some of us are around the world, and we can't,
right.
Time zones, and you got to go to the doctor, you know what I mean? Like, and like you pay all this money. I think COVID also had a lot to do with it. That's actually when I kind of closed my office down too, because I didn't really need it. I was paying all this money for all this stuff. I mean, you got your friend Charles here. He said his great eyes in the trading room. Okay, good. Welcome, Charles. So you could see, I mean, yeah, it's been great to kind of have that, the technology of networking together. But tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. First, if I could just mention, back in the day, we didn't have this kind of thing where we could sit here and do a podcast and be together or in a trading room. Back in the day, I used TC 2000, and our trading group was typing. That's all we had. You could chat, with the group, but it was all typing. And there's so much that can get lost in that communication, that way of communicating, versus this way right here, where you can share a chart live in real time and talk about it. Really, the idea of a trading group now has gone to a whole new thing, which is, I think, fantastic. So how I got started, in a trading group, just chatting like that, somebody said, this is about 1988. somebody said, Rick, you need to learn a bit more about Candlesticks, and they recommended me to Steve Bigelow. So, okay. So,
God bless his soul.
yeah,
He just passed.
very, very much. Yes. God bless him. So I got a hold of Steve, and, I got into his trading group, which again, it was not necessarily a room like we're in now. It grew to that.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with Steve. Steve worked with me. And so how I got my start was basically through there. I would call Steve a mentor, and I've had a couple other mentors, in the early days, even now. But one time Steve asked me if I could moderate his trading room. And I said, well, okay. So, I ran down to the store and I bought, a cheap headset and microphone, and that right there was probably the greatest gift Steve ever gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, you can sit behind your desk and you can trade, and you really have nobody to answer to. You've got your dog, you've got your partner, if you tell them everything. And I have found that a lot of people don't do that. And that's a mistake, by the way. Don't get caught into that. You're taking a big loss. Oh, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm going to try to make it back. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, he gave me that opportunity to be in the trading room, to moderate it, which made me accountable, not to just myself, but to everybody. And that was, to me, that was one of the big starts. And then from there, I ended up opening up my own company and trading room. But I have to give Steve the big credit for my success, because it taught me to be accountable, and that's one of the biggest keys there is to success. I don't know if you.
How long was that?
Oh my goodness, I started in 1988, just kind of by myself. So this had to be.
That's a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because I was a dinosaur. I started in 95. I mean, think about it. And you look great for your, I don't know, where do you live anyway? You look like.
Well, I'm a transplant. Born and raised in Alaska for 50 years. And that's where I traded from till about 15 years ago now. And my wife drugged me to Springfield, Missouri.
Okay.
So
you look great.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, because and please, I want to say now, I want to apologize if I kind of cough. I just last week I was in the hospital. I had pneumonia, and I'm getting over that.
Oh shit.
I feel fantastic, but
you look great.
Thank you. But I want to apologize to everybody if I have to go through one of those coughing fits. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that cough. It's going all over the place. I think some people here might have it, but I had it for like 3 weeks during Christmas time. But I'm glad I got over it. I think I passed on my wife too. But that's what turns into. It turns to a pneumonia. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, that's what I ended up. Yeah, it ended up happening. Yeah.
But I mean, I remember Steve Bigelow back in the day. I don't know if anyone here remembers him, but he was definitely an icon back in the industry. Wrote a lot of great books. The Candlestick Forum, I think it was, right? I think they called it.
Yep.
And I remember being in his room. I mean, he'll have like 600-700 people in there at one point. People loved him a little bit. He wasn't the most technical guy. I remember doing events with him sometimes. I think actually, I don't know if it was you, but like somebody always tell him like, and everybody in the room got used to it. He's like, how do I open up the PowerPoint? I'm like,
that's Steve right there. Yeah, he was not. I had the privilege of actually going down to Houston when he was there, and I spent a lot of time with him down there. And
in Houston?
In his trading room.
I think they moved in Pennsylvania though, because I remember he was in Pittsburgh.
Right. But this was in the early days,
when
he lived in Houston. And I was to his house, and that's where he worked from his house. And over in the corner was his technical guy. And he was always running over helping Steve, and Steve would say, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? I mean, he could look at a chart, but when it came to everything else, nah.
Yeah, he was big with the doji.
He was pretty funny about it. Yeah.
He was. So now that happened, like you worked in, and I think that's how a lot of us here basically, what we try to teach everyone is like, I guess that's what makes great educators. I mean, like, we don't try to hold anything back. We want you to learn and move on and teach other people. And I guess, and that's, listen, I have a lot of people that I trained and started their own schools, and I encourage it because, there's a lot of bad actors out there. You know this, Rick. We've been around for a while. A lot of people watching on YouTube, and we get bad names because of it.
Yep.
And and it's terrible. But everybody's like, oh, and we've had hecklers at the expos and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
It's saying, "Oh, what are you doing here?" and this and that. But that's why we like to have people like you on the show, because we want you to kind of, everyone to hear, realize, like, listen, we're just human beings, just like you. We look like you, we trade like you, we work at our houses like you, But you got to surround yourself with a good group. But getting back to your style, now you are on your own. So, what have you been working on? I mean, how did it come to where you are today?
Like I think like all traders it's kind of a circle. You go to webinars and even like here and even like when I start to show something here later in the show, people go to these things and they say, wow, he uses this neat little trick, this indicator. So what you do is you load that indicator or that neat little trick up on your charts and you use that for a while, and it's just this vicious circle. And um, what happens is you end up with a chart with all kinds of mumbo jumbo on it, and then one day you wake up and you clean that mumbo jumbo off, and then you go through that same cycle again. And I think that the thing is just keep it simple. And what I like to do is and I'll absolutely be sharing 100% when I it's time for me to share a chart and we go forward. But keep it simple. I use moving averages, candlesticks, of course, and honestly, that is about it as far as a chart goes.
Now, you do more equities, futures, options. What are you doing more?
I traded for years. I traded nothing but stock. Never even traded an option until about 5 years ago. Not one single option. And now I probably trade 99% options, just simple directional calls and puts. Which, if for anyone that's afraid of options, just stop saying the word options. All I do is trade stock, and I leverage with options. That's all it is.
It's exactly. You know what? I'm glad you bring that up, Rick, because
Mhm.
I fight people all day long regarding this, and this is one of the issues I think a lot of people have that are having. First of all, you can't trade options unless you know how to trade a stock first.
Oh, geez,
You know,
yes,
and
yes.
everyone like, well, I'm, because I train a lot of people too, and they mainly come to me after because they started with options. I'm like, what did you do? I mean, how do you know what options to trade? You can't be a good option trader. I'm glad you brought that up because just you said you evolved into trading an option. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And that's the opposite that people do. They get sold a bunch of marbles that they're like, well, why would you trade stock? You could leverage and this, that. Yeah, it's got a great Cinderella story, but like, okay, but what makes an option move? And
right,
you can't just keep looking at the Tesla options every day. You know what I
right.
mean? But I'm
I
glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
So
I run into people all the time that they start out trading options, and I'm sorry for the option traders out there, but I really feel you shouldn't. A new trader should never start trading options because they need to learn to trade a simple stock. If you can't make money in a simple stock trade, I don't know that you're going to make money in options.
right, I say it all the time. I'm glad.
Yeah. So,
That's great, great
but
advice. So
but any
what is the biggest challenge that you've seen regarding that, as in like, what do you think people have been having? Like, what have you been hurt? What have you been, challenging with students you've been trading, that is not making people successful? That I'm not you in general, but they're not being successful at.
one of the things, well, a couple of things that I promote, talk about all the time is one, to have patience. And remember, you never have to rush into anything. And this is what I find happens. And I mean, we can talk about this today. We've had a markets popped up this morning,
Yeah,
but
big pop.
that doesn't mean that we should just be jumping in bullish. Um, not just yet. Be patient. Let the market help you out. Um, and what I find is most people are afraid they're going to miss out on something, and they have to jump into this stock when like right now, the market is up against some resistance at the moment, and for the purpose of the video, this is January 15th, 2025. So,
Right.
if you're going to go back and look at the chart, anybody can. Um, we want to make sure that hangs on, because if you're in a bunch of longs, or even one long for that matter, and the market starts to reverse and head back down, think of the market as like this big 800-pound gorilla. You're in the stock, and the stock may be a perfect looking chart, but you still have that 800-pound gorilla sitting on your chest if it starts to roll down. And just the opposite, if you're in short and the market starts to roll up, you've got that 800-pound gorilla sitting on your short chest, and that can be harmful. And that's where, and then people getting out too quick, but mostly getting in too soon and not letting everything work out. The chart work out right.
Now, have you ever encountered, like, a war story that happened to you regarding that taught you what you're preaching today, that happened in the past?
Oh yeah. For those that don't, I'm not ashamed to say it. I've told many people. It's on some of my videos. I've blown my account up twice, and when I say blow it up, I'm talking 50K ish down to zero, and I've done that twice in the early days. I was fortunate, and I actually had a job at the time, and I was fortunate in my job to be able to refund my account. Most people can't do that. When you lose a large amount of money, all of a sudden, trading trading is rigged, trading is no good. You come up with every reason under the sun.
Had that happen?
What, blowing it up? Not
Yeah.
having patience, not having patience, not waiting for the trade, using too many indicators, to be honest.
I had
And
this Boran yesterday. He said the same exact thing.
yeah,
He told me, he was saying, like, he started with a shitload of indicators. Now he's down to one. I mean, like, you
yep,
just overthink things.
yep, yeah, too many indicators. And if you get too many indicators, what happens is they don't always work together. And then, you get one indicator that says, well, I better wait. You get another indicator that says go. So there's this push and pull inside you. And I just think it hurts when you're looking at a chart, when there's something so simple you can follow. And that's, what we'll show today.
Was that a
Uh,
stock that you got? Do you
oh,
remember the
it
stock though
wasn't.
today, or just overall,
Uh,
just
no,
trading like
back no back then it was I was a gunslinger. I traded too
okay.
much. Yeah, I traded way too much, and um, not really paying attention because I didn't know. That's another thing. That's another thing is I started out trading, bang, 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 putting money in, trade, and I ended up losing money.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things, not just today, but a lot of people, is first learn how to trade, then trade. But what happens is new traders, they go out and they join a service, $100. They have to pay for some software, another $100. They have to do something else for another $100. All of a sudden, say they're spending $300 a month. So they have it in their mind that they've got to make their $300 that month, every month, and of course, make a little blue sky. When, let's just hold on for a minute, great big timeout. You haven't learned how to trade. And it's like any kind of education. There is no free education, zero. So you can either get your education by taking a couple of months, make some folks a little longer, a couple of months, and actually learn how to trade and pay somebody to help you do that. Or you can get out there and you can trade, which I promise you'll lose more money,
Hmm.
because you're always thinking you can get that next big trade. And you really don't have the whole concept of trading. So that's what happened to me. That's, I just traded,
How'd you dig yourself out of it?
um, lost money.
And you just kept losing again.
No, serious, lost money. And then there just comes to a point where how do you how can you justify losing this much money, and then you refund your account and then losing this much money again? How can you justify doing that? And then honestly, one day I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself, and I spent, I don't know, 3, 4 months of studying. And after that, it was like, aha, that's what it was. So it was just 3, 4 months of studying and looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of charts. Still there every day, still doing the same thing, just not putting money into it,
Right.
learning how to trade, but paying for the room I was in, paying for the subscription I had to have, for whatever. And that's the cost of education. So,
So
that-
losing is a cost of education, which I tell
yeah,
everyone too. Same thing. I mean, you got
yep,
to lose to learn. You're going to lose in trading. It's not a bad thing. You just
no,
don't. You know why you lost. You don't do it again.
right,
You're
right.
going to fall off the bike when you go
Oh,
on a bike.
I have losses all the time. Not every trade is a winner. I wish it was, but it's not. And you just have to learn how to mold that into a success story. A successful trader. So we all have losses.
So what are the key things you learned from that that you've been passing over to your traders?
Excuse me. Um, um,
Okay,
I apologize.
that's all right. We know you're sick.
Um, um, have the patience when you look at a chart. Make sure that I'm a big one for saying that the market has to be in your favor. That's something that I never used to do. Didn't matter, and used to be I only traded long. I never traded short. And if the market is long, you trade long. If the market is short, you trade short. Pretty simple.
Trend is your
Um,
friend. You don't buck the trend.
yeah, don't fight the trend.
Yeah.
Just because if you do, again, you've got that great big 800-pound elephant on top of you, and it just makes trading harder. But learning that, because there's always this little spot in trading when the market turns, or when a particular chart you're looking at, whether it's Nvidia or Tesla, you're looking at those. There's a spot where it turns, where I want to get in early. I want to do this. I know it's going up, but it's not really giving you that bullish chart. Be patient, wait for that chart, or that bearish chart. Be patient and wait, let the market get there, and then trade. So to me, that's probably been one of the biggest, say, a personal thing that I had to overcome is not just trade with no concept of what the big picture is doing. That was a real aha moment for me.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Regarding about taking what you just said,
Hmm.
let's look what's going on today. All
Okay.
right. We got fires in California. You got a new administration coming in. It's a brand new year. There's different industries. What opportunities people should be looking for, what you're looking at, and what we should be prepared for: the good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, I have to tell you, this is every human being has a. Let's talk politics for a second, okay? New administration coming in, old administration leaving. There's a lot of rhetoric out there, both sides. I'm not one side or the other, but when you start trading, then you start, you know, maybe somebody that doesn't like the new administration coming in, you'll find everything bad. You'll go find every piece of headlines that's bad, and it's the same thing for the old administration. You'll find every reason in the world why, well, the market is never going to go up, those sort of things. And personally, I want to call myself a chartist, which means, in my mind, when I come into I check all my political beliefs, everything at the door. Zero. I mean, I tell everybody I could care less who's in the office when it comes to trading,
Exactly. I'm
because
glad you said that. I say
it's
it all the time.
it's the chart. Just trade the chart. Don't bring your inflation is a big thing. And a lot of people might not agree with me on this, but I mean, from a personal standpoint, my wife and I, buying groceries, going to dinner, buying this, buying that, spending money. yes, I care about inflation. But when it comes to trading, I don't care about inflation.
No.
I don't I don't let it get in my mind, oh my God, we might have inflation and oh, that's just going to drag the market down, which I would argue with you, we've been in an inflation state and the market has been up. So, but
Yeah.
people will wind themselves up that something is going to be bad only because it's news headlines and you bring it into your trading and that's the way you trade. When the truth of it is that that's not the case. Just trade the chart, keep politics, keep religion, keep everything out of it, keep news out of it. Um, I mean, I'm a massive, huge CNBC lover. I mean, I'm always watching it. My wife even watches it, and she doesn't do anything with this. But it's just I watch it, but I don't bring anything into the trading room.
Hmm.
It's just the
You
chart.
can't, you can't. And I say the same thing too. I mean, listen, we're all like maybe heavy political on certain
Yep.
one thing. You got
Yep.
to check that. But one thing we all have in common, no matter what side you are, we are the same party. We're traders.
Right. Right.
So if you take something personal, you can get your ass kicked. Okay, you're gonna really get your ass kicked because like right now, like I did a couple of videos, a couple of shorts on about the fires,
Yeah.
and there was a couple of big stocks that got destroyed. Rick, I mean, excuse me. You had stocks like EIX, yeah, which was Edison International. You had PGE, PG&E,
PG&E. Yeah.
SRE. These stocks got crushed. So the thing is, you short them, and people are like, oh, you see, you're benefiting on people's, catastrophe. I'm saying, okay, so let me put it this way: what happens if it was long? And they knew the fires, I'm going to still hold it and run the thing down 30, 40 points. You
Right.
know what I mean? I worked my
Yeah.
whole life, 2 years, to go from 30 to 70. And it went from, 80. And I went from 80 down to 30. And I lost
Yeah.
it in 3 days. Well, I'm not going to do that. So, if it's not a fire, if it's not COVID, if it's not whatever, you just got to know how to trade the market. And that's what we do. But I'm glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because, I was just saying this morning in my webinar that, we have the new administration. Market is closed, unfortunately, on Monday because I
Mhm.
would like to see those executive orders get filled because I think some of the stocks are going to react to it. So we'll be here on Tuesday.
Yep.
But you just got to trade it. So don't sit there and like, damn it, why is he signing that? You know what I mean? Listen,
Yeah. That does. Yeah. On a personal level, that may be an issue, but when it comes to trading, it's not an issue.
it's not an
Just
issue.
just stick with that chart. That's the only thing to
Stick
do.
with the chart, stick with the stock is doing and everything else. So as the tools that you're using, you're saying that you're looking at the chart. What
Mhm.
specific charts? Are you setting up a 1 minute chart, a 5 minute chart? Are you using any indicators? Like, what do you exactly do? Maybe you could just show us really quick.
Sure. You want me to show
Yeah,
bring
share.
it
Let's
bring it?
show us what you
All
got
right.
going on so people
Let
can
me
so you can kind of explain it as we're doing it.
yeah, let's bring up a chart here. There
There
we
we
go.
go. All right.
Hey. Oh, wow. That's cool the way that happened. Nice.
Oh, we can
Gotta
move it
love
around. Don't worry about
technology
that. We
here.
can change things around.
No, that's good. That's good. I like that. So when I'm looking at a chart, let me go to this right here is one of my favorite charts, and uh, all it is. Let me start with this yellow line. This is the 3 exponential moving average. The white line is the 8 exponential moving average, or what we call the T line. And these red dots and green dots, that's nothing more than the 17 exponential moving average. And whoops, I'm on an hourly chart. There we go. There's daily. Um, and I want to stop right there for a second because that's something that I'm going to talk about a lot today is that red and green. And you can use any moving average you like, and you can do this. But you just have to choose one and stick one. I choose the 17. In all honesty, I mean, a lot of people have asked me why I use the 17 exponential, and I went back and forth from the 20 simple and 21 exponential. I had the moving averages up on the screen, and I said, "Ah, screw it, just split the middle," and that's why I use the 17.
Okay.
True story. So, but that's my reasoning. So anyway, this is one of my favorite charts, and this is the way I trade. Mostly, when I say mostly, over 95% from the daily chart. I love what we call the 3-bar chart, which is just a 180-minute chart. And I do look at that hourly chart, but I don't trade from the hourly chart.
Well,
It's
if
the
you're not a day trader, it's
I'm not a day trader. No,
right. So I mean,
no,
it's where you wasting is just more
right.
noise.
Yeah, I'm not a day trader at all. I'm a swing trader. So what I'm going to look for are things like this. This chart here I have up is OKLO, and I have this up because just before we came on, I bought some of this, and so here's the kind of things I'm looking for. So right here, see the red dots? That
Yep.
means it's bearish. Right here, that means we're bullish.
Are
Now
those
that
time
does
and sales like? Is that what that's recording more?
No, all that is a 17 exponential moving average.
Okay.
But what happens is we have it set up where when price moves over those red dots, they turn green. So it's something crazy simple. We're bullish when it's green, bearish when it's red, bullish when it's green. Pretty simple. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a buy when it flips over right there. I'm going to wait for things like we move up. I can see here based on these two moving averages, there's a pullback right there. And let's just come over here where we are today. And like I said, I bought this just before you and I started talking
Yeah,
this
no, it's
morning.
moving up pretty nicely today. It's
Yeah,
up about 14%. It's a $3 stock. I'm looking at it
yeah,
right now. It's been hovering pretty good since
yeah,
past October. A
yeah,
nice little
yeah,
swing. It looks
yeah.
like it's almost going to be a breakout, honestly, the way I look at
That's
it.
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So
It's a new
that's what I'm
IPO though, right? It's new. It's
what
not a
yeah, it's I don't know, it's
it's
not
fairly new. Yeah.
yeah, fairly new there. Um, but it's here, let me put the candles back on. And this is the chart I use to trade from. This is the chart that the trading room sees all the time, most of the day. They see the other one when I turn it on, but this is the one I mostly use. And you can see how, we've had this pullback, and I'm just watching the trend, and mostly the green dots. I want that rising. And we broke out, we pulled back. We're back over the T line or the 8 exponential moving average, which is the black line. That is a buy area for me right there. And I bought that today. So any members that's listening, I apologize. Normally I post in the room right away that I bought it, but I haven't had time to get back in the room. Not to worry, it really hasn't gone anywhere yet. Um, uh, so anyway, I'm watching this, looking for to move up to that next target up there, and I'll profit into the swing and maybe hold depending on what price action does right in there.
Okay.
So but that's all I use right there. That's it.
How did you find this stock? I mean, what made you pick this stock more than any other stock? I mean,
Okay.
I think that's
Yeah.
been an issue because, like, I mean, like, everyone here, when it comes to trading, everybody's always talking about, like, oh, you found this stock, and it's great, looks good, use that indicator. But like, how'd you go about picking that specific one?
That is a very good question, and I have a very specific tool that I use for that. I'm going to bring. Let's see. I'll bring this down here, and then I'm going to bring this down here as well. And this tool, let me make sure it's going to stay on the top. There we go. Stay on top. There we go. Okay. So I have, I don't know, about over 20 more of these windows that do specific things. This is, I'll call it my private watch list, if you will. It's just if I find something that's moving from another window like this, I will add it to this window because this is a window I focus on a lot.
Is that your
So
watch list, or is that like a top 20?
what this is this is a program, and like I said, it's one of my tools. It's a
A scanner?
program. Yeah, it's from a
Okay.
company called Live Trading Alerts, and I pay for this like the next guy pays for it. And so what I do is I have it set up to look for specifically what I want, which is bullish activity and trending up. Trending up for me is when we go from red to green. And then I'm going to look at the hard right edge and decide, well, is that what I want to buy? And then, of course, I'm going to look to the left. Does that chart look worthy to buy long? We can do the same thing. Let's look at Disney. The same thing with Disney. This is a specific setup. It doesn't mean that it's set up. This is just a list of stocks that I like, whether they're long or short. I go to the chart and then I look at the chart. And like Disney right now, to me, is still looking short down to the 200 period moving average. I use moving averages a lot. A lot of I look for stocks bouncing off moving averages, whether they're bouncing up or bouncing down. I look for moving averages to be targets, as well as price action to be targets. So, like I say, I follow this right here, and that it's just anyway. This is how I found that OKLO. It was
Okay.
on the list.
It's not an algo or anything, is it?
No, here's here's something. Here's let me make sure this stays on top or it'll disappear. So I've got this chart set up looking for a bounce, and I'll show you kind of the insides of this. I'm not going to get into a great deal; it would take too long, but I'm looking for a bounce off certain moving averages. I can tell you that this is going to be the 8, well, right here, the 8, the 10, the 13, 17, 20. I'm looking for bounces off those in what we call a road to wealth fast trend, which means I want the 3 above the 8 and the 8 above the 17. I'm looking for a bullish candle. For me, bullish and bearish is white and black. And then I'm looking for this, which is I want all trades to be over the 17 exponential moving average. Okay. So this is the bullish side. So take this LABD. I can pull up charts like this all day that I think they meet my criteria. It doesn't mean they're the perfect chart to trade. It just means it meets my criteria. Bottom line, you still have to look at the chart and decide, is this what you want to buy? Do you have resistance? Did we break out? Things like that. So
I like what you just said before, and I want everyone just to listen carefully what Rick just said. He pays for this, right?
yeah,
One of the big issues people always have is like everybody wants free stuff. And I tell them, like, listen, the only thing that's free is a cheese in a mouse trap, and we know what happened to the mouse. So don't think you're going to be buying anything for free. And if anyone ever offers you anything for free, this is what I always tell them, Rick, and you could probably do the same thing. I always ask them, since those are wrenched it. So just tell me, how do you make money? So you're talking to me right now. How am I paying you? I mean, you don't work for free. I don't work for free. I mean, so to everyone, Bruce, I'm bringing this up a little bit more, is that if you got to pay for something, and you have to pay a lot. You might have to pay maybe down if you really, 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 really like something. You have to pay a lot, but I'm glad that you said that, because that's like a big hurdle I think people have. They don't like to, I don't know, say use the word cheap, but
no, I get it. And I mean, this chart you see here, this is TC 2000. I use TC 2000. I have to pay for that. I've paid for that.
How much is that?
I don't know. I buy it by a year or maybe even 2 years. And, I got the price down to $75, but you have to pay for 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I think you can buy a monthly for under $100. I use the premium or platinum.
Yeah, and you'll get there eventually. Like you start with the basics. You see if it's for you, and if it is, for not. I like what CPIN Text said here on YouTube. He said, "If it's free, you're just a product, or you're the guinea pig. Free, you're the guinea pig, basically.
Hey, try this out to see if it works.
Yeah, exactly. You're the guinea pig. Whenever I go on apps, like I use apps for on my phone. Everybody's like, and everyone looks at the free ones like, I don't want it for free. I don't want to spend a lot, but like you're just a beta tester,
right?
Or you're gonna get hammered with commercials and and advertisements,
right? Here's another stock that it just came up on or it's been up here on a J hook breakout type scan, and you can see it right there. And then we go look at the chart. So the way I would trade that, what I'm going to look for is I first want to look at a target. And right now, I'm going to look at that 50 period moving average. Again, I use moving averages a lot. And now we can take this and you can see we've broken out. So now this becomes a trade for me, a possibility of a trade. So what I'm going to do is look to buy in this area. Um, so I'll just take from here up. So we're looking at a 6.5% trade on the stock. Got to remember, I'm going to buy an option. So this is going to be 15-20% option, if it goes from here to here. And that's my trade. I don't ever look for this to go higher. That is my trade, period. Now, it's not to say that I won't reevaluate here and maybe hold it higher, but more than likely, my style of trading is I would sell it, and then if I bought it again, I would simply buy it again.
Now
So
you're saying you're trading options. I had a question to ask you regarding about that. What broker do you use to trade your options? Because I think a lot of people always like kind of ask that question too. Like, what makes one broker different than the other? How do
yeah,
you pick the one you want?
I use Tradier as a broker, and there maybe I'm going cheap because their prices are very low. I get good fills on it,
Okay.
and it's not too fancy. It's quite simple. I put my focus on the chart, not that sort of thing.
Well, you
And
just showed it right there. You're not using their platform. You're
no,
using
no,
their just for execution.
yeah.
Right.
That's all I use it for is execution. I don't use it as a platform or anything. But Tradier is what I use, and
Okay. Yeah, there's a
it's
lot of them. I mean, we had
yeah.
like we
There's
had
tons of them.
Tom Sosnos from Tasty Works on here. We had
Tasty, yeah.
yeah, Thinkorswim. We do a lot, I mean, but yeah, it really does come down to cost. And by the way, I don't know if people know this, but like these brokerage firms make a lot of money when you trade on options.
Yeah.
So that's why they really are pushing the options more than anything. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but like I just did a big event. I was down at a big conference down in Florida. Now you could trade options on crypto.
Yes. Yeah.
That just came out just recently.
Mhm.
So getting back to your trading style. So on a personal insight, if you can give any advice to anyone here, like what would it be? Like, what do you tell your students, regarding about you? I mean, you're showing your style, whatever it is, but a lot of people are looking to start out. They don't know where to begin. And I know I have a lot of people, like presenters that come on here, a lot of educators that come on the Cyber Trader podcast. And what is your advice to give them if they're looking to get started?
Just what we talked about earlier on is, have the patience. For instance, you see this, I've got the SPY chart up here. Let me get rid of all that. There we go. I've got the SPY chart up here. And, 3 days ago, a nice little candle. We had some follow through yesterday. Throughout the day, it was a little volatile, but it came back up. Today, we're having this gap up. And I see people look at this and think, oh my God, I'm going to get bullish because we've had this gap and everything looks great. I've cautioned everybody in the room, be careful. We even talked about this yesterday, the possibility of running up to this high right in here. And let me put this line back up for you. Put that line back up. Running up to that downtrend line. This is no time to be overly long in the market because you've got that 800-pound elephant sitting on your chest. Now, this is my style. This is completely disagree. But if you look at these two windows right here, and by the way, it's the same list. There's about 300 stocks on this list right now. And look how the bearish side is working and the bullish side is not. So this is telling me to be a little bit careful going long. And right now we're setting up for short. Now, I'm not saying that, and in fact, I'll say it right here. I still think we resolve to the upside up here, but it doesn't mean that we can't move lower down to what a moving average that we call the dotted deuce and or the 200 period moving average. I still think we resolve, but what we don't want to do as a trader, I don't want to lose all my money getting in a bunch of longs here because that's what we've done right here and we failed, and we did it right here and failed.
Right. Well,
So
that
for
looks like a
me,
lower low too.
exactly. We're just making,
It was a higher low, and now it
lower
became lower
lows
lows.
and lower highs. That's something that's trading 101, if you ask me.
Right.
Right now we need to see a low to a high to a higher low or double bottom, and then we need to see a breakout
Of higher highs.
over wherever that high is. Now we've got something to work with, and right now that's what that line is right there. Here, let me do this. So we need to break out, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, 10 days from now, it doesn't matter. We need to break out, and then we need to rest, test, and then we need the bulls to step back in. And then when we break out over wherever that high is, now we've got some gum to chew here. But until then, you just don't have a lot of reason to be bullish, overly bullish anyway.
So going into oops, I lost you right there. Oh, there you go. All right, sorry about that. So getting back to Rick, to finishing up, how and where do you think we should be looking for in the future? I mean, like I said, we've got the new administration coming up. What are you going to be looking for if everyone to get prepared? But obviously hope for the best. But what should we prepare for the worst?
Something I've been talking about in the room for a few weeks now. It's no secret. I would rather trade long than short. And the truth is, I think about 99% of all traders are probably taught to trade long before they're taught to trade short, or they have more success with long versus short. There are certainly, there's certainly people that, different, and they swear up and down, and that's all they trade is short. That's perfectly fine. But for the long traders, that's predominantly long. Something I have said, I think we need to brush up on our shorts. And it's not that I think the market is going to go down. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying I think we need to be a little bit more prepared for a little more volatility in the market. For instance, if you're not into shorting right now, there's just not many longs out there, unless you're going to look at the inverse ETFs, which I think is a great thing. That's a way to trade long in a short market. But I think we need to brush up on our shorts, be a little better at it. I know I do, because I it's no secret, not ashamed of it. I would prefer to be long. I'm not afraid to take a short. I short all the time, but sometimes I'll push those longs a little bit more, push that envelope a little bit more.
It's not the American dream. People always say, people don't think negative. You're shorter, Everyone thinks like you always go long. I would probably say I'm 90% long, 10% short. I just went short recently with some of those, with the electrical companies because of the fire. You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I know some big prop for people that 80% of their trades are all short. They just love shorting because whatever goes up comes down twice as fast.
Exactly.
But like you said,
so
most people are being trained that way.
Yeah. So, you just got to be able to look at a chart. And again, my tool can bring them up for me. You just got to be able to look at a chart and say, okay, it's a short right now, below 70, below those lows, you're short, just making you some money. And then just make sure you put that stop on there. That's something too, is look, when you've got a losing trade, get out of that losing trade. Hope is not an indicator, and it sure as hell is not a good indicator. So
hope is the Antichrist word. You don't use hope.
Yeah, hope is
you don't want to be hoping.
Hope is the worst thing in trading.
Worst word. When I hear that, I tell people, when you start hoping, you're in big trouble.
You're in big trouble.
You're in big trouble. Well, if everybody here, what we're going to do, once again, if you want to register, please make sure you like us and friend us. We're going to have a couple of big shorts that I made and highlights for this video. We got to have the long version on Spotify and all our channels on the top right-hand corner. If you want to come and join the trading room, just take your phone. You can scan that QR code for future events. But we're going to have Rick back. We're going to want to have you back and do a nice little training course also and get more detail about it. But I'm glad everyone knows a little bit about you. Explain, what your life has been involved and how long it took you to get where you are today. And that's what people have to just realize. Just got to be patient. Don't
patient.
worry.
That's the key. That's the key. Patience.
Yeah, this is not Vegas. You're not going out there trying to make it all in one day and get comped in a nice room. That's not going to make you money. You want to relax. You want to spend time with your wife. What are you doing?
Speaking of Vegas, that's something I want to say. make no mistake, we're betting here. I believe we are,
Uh-huh.
but we're betting with rules. And I mean, you're betting like SLV. Right now, I would bet that it goes up. We can look at Crocs right here. Right now, I would bet that it goes down before it goes up. We're betting, but I look at price action, candlesticks. I look at the direction of what we call our trend indicator, which is the red and green dots. You put some rules in there, but make no mistake, we're betting. And I know that a lot of traders, even I used to, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to say that word.
Yeah, he wouldn't compare it to like gambling. But you know what? Listen, if you drink and drive, you're gambling. Everything's a gamble. My
That's right.
definition of gambling, I tell everyone, it's not a casino. It's not having control. You know, so if you're trading, like, yeah, it is a gamble what we're doing. But like, I don't know about you, but I mean, I like to go to Vegas. We've been there, but I hate gambling because I know that the odds are against me. I said, listen, if I'm going to trade, I'm going to trade. I'd rather trade than put money in a casino because I know my odds are against me.
Right.
You know,
I go to all I do is lose money at Vegas or Reno, or that's all. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's funny when I'm there, I'm like, and talking about the gambling part about it, I'll sit there. I'm like, why do they have so many slot machines? Because their odds of winning more the house is
That's
more
right.
there. So
That's right.
like, okay, I'm being a trader. So I think as a trader, we think risk to reward. So which is the most better odds for me if I did want to go to the casino? And the best odds I believe is like blackjack, right? But it's so boring. You know what I mean?
There's no action there.
No action. It's very slow. It's right. And people don't want to see that. They like the fast action. They like the lights. And that's where that comes in. But that's why, like, as a trader, you learn, like, now we look at things that, like, as a business decision, you know?
Exactly. Like business wise, you're right. Is it trending? That's a business decision. That's a great way to put it. It's
a business
I've
decision.
never
And
put
what's
it
the
that way.
definition of business? I tell everyone, making money.
Right.
That's the definition of it. I failed that in college. And I wrote this whole long essay about, explain what business is. And I took a business class and I'm like, shit, it was only 2 words. And now I'll never forget. I tell everyone that, treat trading like a business. Like you just said, you pay money for it. You bought that and you did it great. Right. Well, Rick, any last minute words before for the traders? Any advice?
Stay cautious. Stay cautious. The smaller accounts, you've got to be more cautious than larger accounts. Larger accounts, you have to be cautious because you don't want to be a smaller account. So be cautious. Wait for your setup. Be patient. There can be traders that trade 100 trades a month, and there can be traders that trade 1 trade a month, and they can both profit or lose the exact same amount of money. So be patient and wait. Just wait for that setup.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that advice. And thanks everybody for coming here at the Cyber Trader Podcast. And we'll see you next week on Tuesday and Wednesday where other guests are coming along. And like I said, we'll have all these great highlights for you. So please subscribe to the channel and we'll see you then. Rick, thanks for coming on, everyone.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, Rick, is anyone follow you if they need to? There's something you can get for free where they can register for your upcoming event. You can just post that in the link.
Yeah. Let's see where do I post that? Say copy.
Right in the chat.
Chat.
We can give everybody a link over there.
On
the right hand side, you'll see.
Oh, there we are. I still don't see it, but let's see. Move that out of the way. Chat. Here, all I see is a private chat.
Well, we have we'll post the is your email good enough? Or the Rick Sander, whatever it is.
Rick at ricksadler.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see.
There we go. We got it right there. Is that
there you go. Yeah. Anyway, if anyone's interested in, a 30-day free trial, absolutely free, 100%, 30 days, click on that link, come on in the room. If you're interested in this tool, I can get you hooked up for free as well to try it. So, but 30 days, ask questions, and we'll do everything we can to answer those questions and teach what we do. And maybe you like some of it, maybe you don't. So
that's it. Ron, it looks like I had one of the students here a long time ago. He's here like everyone else. Look, listen, and learn. So
Mhm.
do the trials and go out there and do it. Thanks again, Rick. We'll see you in a little bit, everyone. We'll see you back next week. And don't forget
Thank
to
you very much, Fausto. Appreciate it. Look forward to coming back.
likewise.